All right, today we're doing something a little different. We're going to take a deep dive into some excerpts from your memoir,
Oh, okay.
specifically focusing on your childhood and teenage years in 1960s Seattle.
Hmm.
So get ready for a trip down memory lane. We'll revisit that curious kid, the class clown, the budding intellectual hiding under a messy desk,
Right.
and we'll explore how those early experiences really shaped your thinking, those formative years that kind of set you on your path.
Yeah, looking back at childhood through the lens of a memoir, it does offer a unique perspective, doesn't it? It's not just nostalgia. It's about understanding the roots of your ideas, your values, how they were formed.
Exactly.
Mm.
And I think for our listeners too, it's a chance to see those early influences that maybe shaped the person you became.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's start with family life. You grew up in Laurelhurst, right?
Yeah.
A two-story house, close-knit community, but you also describe a very structured routine, kind of orchestrated by your mother. Like she'd wake everyone up with the intercom, even playing a cheerful good morning song. There were assigned spots at the breakfast counter. What do you think that says about her approach to family life?
Well, it is interesting. Laurelhurst was known for its relaxed, family-oriented atmosphere. But our home life seems to have had a different rhythm, almost like a focus on order and efficiency.
Yeah.
And I think, it probably reflects my mother's personality, her drive to succeed both at home and in her career. And remember, this was the 1960s.
Right. It was a different time.
A woman rising in the corporate world was pretty unusual.
Absolutely. Your mom was serving on boards of major companies, all while raising a family. That couldn't have been easy.
It wasn't always.
And your memoir also highlights your father's unwavering support for her ambition. He even wrote a college essay, like way back when, envisioning a world where men and women had equal opportunities. He called it Gatesland.
Yeah, Gatesland, his ideal world.
It's quite a concept. And I wonder, growing up with that kind of vision from your father, do you think that influenced your own views on gender equality later on?
Oh, I think without a doubt. Imagine, those ideas weren't just discussed, they were actively lived out within our family.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it definitely had an impact.
That's fascinating. And let's not forget your grandmother, Gami, always a steady presence in your life. Your memoir mentions her helping you with school projects. It sounds like you had a strong support system despite, or maybe even because of, those structured routines.
Oh, absolutely. Gami was always there, a constant source of love and support.
That's wonderful.
Oh.
And speaking of school, let's move on to your time at Laurelhurst Elementary. You started there as the new kid, which is, always a bit daunting. But you also described witnessing a fight on the overpass, and it seems like that really shaped your understanding of the school's social dynamics.
Yeah, that was an eye-opener. It made me realize that I had to find my own way to navigate the social landscape.
So not being the tough kid, you chose a different route, humor.
Right. I became the class clown, using humor to, deflect attention, maybe even disarm potential rivals.
It's interesting to think about that. Do you think that experience influenced your approach to conflict later on, maybe even in the business world? Did it teach you to find those creative ways to outmaneuver opponents?
It's possible. I've always been drawn to unconventional solutions, finding those unexpected angles.
Yeah, and you definitely had a knack for that from an early age. You also deliberately downplayed your studious side, going as far as writing a single-sentence essay for Mrs. Hopkins just to prove a point.
Yeah, that was me trying to control perceptions, I guess.
It seems like you were already aware of how people perceive you and how to manage that.
Perhaps. Maybe I was developing that strategic thinking, even then.
You also talk about those speech therapy sessions. One therapist wanted you to skip a grade and another to hold you back. Like you saw through those conflicting expert opinions.
Yeah, I was starting to realize that experts don't always have all the answers, and that trusting my own judgment was important.
It reminds me of your friendship with Boomer, a kindred spirit who shared your intellectual curiosity and that contrarian streak.
Oh, Boomer.
You both loved to debate, even choosing to defend the pro-war side in a Vietnam War debate just for the challenge.
Yeah, we enjoy pushing the boundaries, exploring different perspectives, even if they weren't popular.
And Boomer's influence is clear, isn't it?
Yeah.
He encouraged you to think critically, to challenge assumptions. It's fascinating to think how those early debates might have shaped your ability to see multiple sides of an argument, a valuable skill in any field.
Absolutely. He was a great friend and a real intellectual sparring partner.
Speaking of intellectual pursuits, your memoir details several examples. Your fascination with sound, exploring math with your sister, and that incredible deep dive into Delaware for a school project. Ah, yes, the 177-page report on Delaware. You went way beyond what was expected, driven by sheer curiosity. Do you think that same drive, that passion for delving deep into a subject, fueled your later fascination with software code? Was there a connection there, a desire to understand the intricacies, the underlying mechanisms?
It's funny, I never thought about it that way, but you might be onto something.
It's like that Delaware project foreshadowed your later passion for unraveling complex systems.
It's an interesting parallel.
And it seems this passion for understanding extended beyond just academics. You were starting to develop a real interest in how the world works, even mentioning wanting to be a scientist.
Yeah, I was fascinated by the natural world, by the laws that govern it.
But of course, adolescence wouldn't be complete without some bumps in the road. Your memoir is very honest about the growing tension between you and your parents during this time. You withdrew, spending most of your time in your room, lost in thought. You even quote yourself as saying, "I'm thinking, don't you ever think you should try it sometime?" It seems communication had become a real challenge.
Yeah, those teenage years can be a difficult time, both for parents and children.
Absolutely.
I was craving independence, the freedom to explore my own ideas.
Right.
And my parents they were trying to guide me to navigate those turbulent waters.
There were escalating conflicts, disciplinary actions. Your parents even tried parent effectiveness training, hoping to find a way to bridge that communication gap.
It's a testament to their love and concern, that they were willing to try different approaches.
Oh, absolutely.
To seek outside help. They clearly wanted to understand me, to connect with me on a deeper level.
And then things came to a head during that memorable dinner table incident. In a moment of frustration, your father threw water in your face.
Yeah.
And your response, "Thanks for the shower."
Yeah.
Classic teenage defiance.
I wasn't easy to deal with.
That incident seems to mark a turning point in your narrative. It was a breaking point that led your family to seek help from a social worker, Dr. Cressey. He sounds like an incredible figure in your life. He had this fascinating background, former fighter pilot, pharmaceutical salesman, and this calming presence that helped you open up.
He was unlike anyone I'd ever met.
His approach to therapy was quite unique. He didn't tell you what to do, but encouraged you to, find your own conclusions.
He was more of a guide than a director.
And his key advice to your parents was, "Give it up, he's going to win," referring to you and your war with them. Looking back, do you think that advice, as counterintuitive as it seemed at the time, actually helped you take more responsibility for your actions?
It's a paradox, isn't it? Sometimes granting someone more autonomy can lead them to make more mature choices.
You also describe becoming more aware of the adult world during this time, especially through visits to your father's law firm. The bustling office, the stacks of law books, even the concept of time logs for billing it all fascinated you. What do you think sparked that interest? Was it simply the novelty of that environment, or was there something deeper?
I think it was a glimpse into the world of professional work, a world where ideas were translated into action, where time was literally money.
And your parents' social circle also played a role. You described their dinner parties and gatherings, always filled with these interesting people, engaged in discussions about community issues and causes.
My mother was an incredible networker. She had this cup trick she used to encourage conversations and connections among her guests.
Oh, tell me about that.
Well, she'd write a topic or question on the bottom of each cup, and as people finished their drinks, they'd reveal the prompt and start discussing it. It was a way to get people talking, to spark new ideas.
That's brilliant. It sounds like she created this environment where ideas could be exchanged, where people could learn from each other.
Exactly. She believed in the power of connection and the cross-pollination of ideas.
It was around this time that you met Dr. Edmark, a cardiologist and client of your father, who had invented an innovative defibrillator. His company, PhysioControl, had this compelling journey to success, and you were captivated by the business aspects, raising capital, patents, profits, research and development. You even wrote a school report about a fictional company called Gatesway, showcasing your early grasp of business principles. What do you think sparked that entrepreneurial interest? Was it Dr. Edmark's story, the excitement of building something new, or a combination of factors?
I think Dr. Edmark's story definitely planted a seed. It demonstrated the real-world impact of innovation and entrepreneurship.
It wasn't just about ideas. It was about bringing those ideas to life, solving problems, making a difference in the world.
Exactly.
You also took initiative at school, starting the Contemporary Club, a discussion group for classmates to engage with current events and social issues. The club organized debates, field trips to local organizations, and even fundraised for a Head Start.
It was our way of trying to make a difference, even at that young age.
And that really highlights your emerging leadership skills, doesn't it? You weren't content with just observing the world. You wanted to engage with it, to make a contribution.
I've always been driven to have an impact.
The visit to Battelle, a nonprofit R&D company, stands out as particularly impactful. You were struck by the idea of smart people coming together to solve problems. That must have resonated deeply with you, considering your later career path.
It was a glimpse into a world where you could use your intellect to make a tangible difference.
It seems like Battelle represented this convergence of your interests: technology, problem solving, and social impact. It was a glimpse into a world where all those things came together.
Yeah, it was an inspiring place. It's fascinating how all these seemingly disparate experiences, family, school, glimpses into the adult world, they all contributed to shaping your worldview.
Yeah, it really wasn't a straight path, was it? There were twists and turns, moments of rebellion, even a war at home. But looking back, it's interesting how certain themes emerge.
Like, one that stands out to me is this thread of unconventionality running through your upbringing. Your mom breaking barriers in the corporate world, your dad's Gatesland vision, your own intellectual curiosity and rebellious streak.
Right.
These weren't exactly the norm in 1960s suburban America.
It wasn't just about fitting in, it was about challenging the status quo. And speaking of challenging norms, you even describe your family's social circle as being filled with people making things, products, policies, buildings.
Yeah.
It wasn't about celebrity or status. It was about creating something of value, having a tangible impact on the world.
Right, and that emphasis on tangible accomplishment seems to have resonated with you. Your early exposure to those driven, purpose-driven individuals, I wonder if that could have been a catalyst for your own ambition.
It's definitely possible. And then there's the decision to send you to Lakeside, a private boys' school. Your parents, both products of public schools, made a conscious choice to send you there. They recognized your need for greater challenges, but I'm curious, how did you feel about that decision at the time?
Well, sending me to Lakeside was a big decision. It certainly opened doors to new opportunities.
Yeah.
But did I ever feel pressure to live up to their expectations? Absolutely.
Your memoir mentions that you initially resisted the idea, even considering intentionally failing the entrance exam. But as you say, your pride prevailed, and you ended up thriving in that environment.
It's true. My pride and my competitive spirit wouldn't let me fail. I mean, it was a challenge, but I was determined to prove myself.
And Lakeside really exposed you to a different world, academically and socially. It's where your intellectual curiosity truly blossomed.
Oh, without a doubt. I was surrounded by peers who shared my passion for learning, challenged to think critically and engage in deeper discussions.
You even mentioned feeling a sense of belonging there, a stark contrast to your earlier attempts to fit in through humor or downplaying your academic abilities.
That sense of belonging was crucial, really. It allowed me to fully embrace my intellectual side without fear of judgment, to immerse myself in the pursuit of knowledge.
But even with this newfound academic and social fulfillment, your memoir hints at a lingering restlessness, a desire to go beyond the confines of traditional education. What do you think was driving that restlessness?
I was searching for something more, a way to channel my intellectual energy into something tangible, something real world.
Like you were ready to apply all that knowledge?
Exactly. I wasn't content with just absorbing information. I wanted to create, to build, to make a difference.
And that's where your fascination with computers comes in. You were introduced to this new technology at Lakeside, and it quickly became an obsession.
It was like a whole new world had opened up, a world where I could create anything I could imagine, limited only by my own understanding of the code.
It's almost as if all these seemingly disparate experiences, the unconventional upbringing, the intellectual curiosity, the exposure to successful entrepreneurs,
Right.
they were all converging, leading you towards this pivotal moment.
Discovering computers at Lakeside was a pivotal moment. It felt like destiny, like everything had been leading up to that point.
So what were your initial thoughts? Did you immediately sense the potential? Or was it more of a gradual realization?
It was instant. I mean, the first time I sat down at a computer terminal, I knew this was something special. This was the future.
You dove headfirst into this new world, spending countless hours at the Computer Center Corporation, hacking away at code, pushing the boundaries of what was possible.
Yeah, the CCC was my playground, my laboratory. I could experiment, I could fail, I could learn, and I learned so much in those early days.
You weren't just learning about computers, though. You were becoming fluent in their language.
That's a good way to put it. I was immersing myself in the logic, the syntax. It was like learning a new way of thinking.
And that's where your innate talent and relentless work ethic really come into play. You weren't a passive observer. You were actively shaping your own future with this new technology.
I wanted to master it, to understand it better than anyone else.
It was also at the CCC that you met Paul Allen, your future business partner and co-founder of Microsoft. What was it about Paul that clicked? Did you recognize a kindred spirit, someone who shared your passion and vision?
Oh, Paul was brilliant. He had this incredible grasp of technology and a shared vision for the future of computing.
It was like you were both speaking the same language.
Exactly. We could bounce ideas off each other, challenge each other, push each other to think bigger and bolder.
And speaking of thinking big, the arrival of the Altair 8800, the personal computer that changed everything, was a game changer.
It was a watershed moment.
Yeah.
Suddenly, computers weren't just for large institutions. They were accessible to individuals.
You and Paul saw the potential of this new machine.
Oh, absolutely.
You recognized that software would be the key to unlocking its true power.
Software was the missing piece. It was what would bring these machines to life, make them useful for everyday people.
And that's when you made the decision to drop out of Harvard and start Microsoft. It was a risky move, a leap of faith that many people questioned.
It was a gamble, no doubt, but we believed in our vision. We believed in the future of personal computing.
It must have felt like a huge gamble at the time. Did you ever have any doubts?
Of course, there were moments of doubt, of uncertainty, but the potential was too great to ignore. We had to try.
Looking back, it's easy to see how that one decision set in motion a chain of events that led to the creation of one of the most successful companies in history. But in that moment, it took tremendous courage and conviction to believe in your vision, to bet on the future of personal computing.
It was a different time. The world was on the cusp of a technological revolution, and we were right there in the middle of it.
You often talk about the importance of timing, of being in the right place at the right time. But it's not just luck, is it? You also had the foresight and the drive to seize that opportunity, to immerse yourself in this new world and master its complexities.
Yeah.
And it's that combination of preparation, timing, and a relentless pursuit of excellence that ultimately set you on your path.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing the potential in front of you and having the courage to pursue it, to give it your all.
Your journey from that rebellious teenager in 1960 Seattle to the tech titan we know today is a testament to human ingenuity and the transformative impact of technology.
Yeah.
But it all started with those early experiences, those formative years that shaped your worldview and ignited your passions.
It's a reminder that our past isn't just a prologue. It's the foundation upon which we build our future.
Yeah, it's really amazing to see how those early experiences in 1960 Seattle, those years we've been talking about, how they really laid the groundwork for such a monumental journey.
It's the interplay, isn't it, between individual choices and these bigger historical forces at play.
Right.
You weren't just kind of swept along by the tide of technological advancement, but you actively shaped it. And the values that were instilled during those early years, they seem to have guided every move you made.
We see that in your unwavering belief in the power of software, right? Your commitment to making technology accessible, and of course, later on, your philanthropic focus on global health and education.
Yeah.
It's like those early seeds of intellectual curiosity, that entrepreneurial spirit, and even that exposure to social causes, they all blossomed into this multifaceted approach to leadership and having impact.
Makes you wonder about the what ifs, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What if you hadn't met Dr. Cressey, who really helped you navigate those tough teenage years? Or say you and Paul Allen hadn't crossed paths. How do you think things might have unfolded differently?
Oh, those are some really intriguing what ifs.
Yeah.
But I think it also speaks to your ability to recognize and seize opportunities when they arose. Not everyone can do that.
Oh, absolutely. That's a key part of it, recognizing those moments and having the courage to jump in.
This deep dive has been so fascinating, uncovering the roots of your success and the values that have defined your journey.
It's like holding up a mirror to your younger self, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of.
Reflecting on those early years, it offers a deeper understanding of who you are and really the forces that shaped the person you became.
And for our listeners, it gives them a chance to think about their own what-ifs and how those early experiences have shaped them.
It reminds us all that our past, well, it isn't just a collection of memories, it's a wellspring of wisdom, guiding us towards, hopefully, a more fulfilling future.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into your past, I'm left with one final thought-provoking question. If you could go back right now and give your younger self one piece of advice, knowing everything you know now, what would it be? And how might that advice have altered the course of your incredible journey?
That is a question worth pondering. Not just for me, but for all of us, really. As we navigate life's complexities, remembering that our past, it's not simply behind us, but it's within us.
Yeah.
And that can be a powerful tool, It can illuminate our present and guide us toward a future, well, hopefully one that's filled with purpose and meaning.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. And for our listeners, we hope you enjoyed this journey into the past and that it sparks some reflection on your own personal